This is the Big Small Business Show. Welcome back. In studio with us today, we've got David Zidel. He's a lecturer, he's an author, and he's someone who's been on the Big Small Business Show many times because he has an incredible gift of taking very complex concepts and making them far simpler. And that's exactly what we want to talk to him about today, is something which also does that, which is the visualization of data. Welcome, or data. Sorry, we have to say data these days. Welcome to the Big Small Business Show.
Thanks, Alon.
All right, so data visualization or data visualization has become a far more important aspect of how we present today, how we put proposals together today, how we sell today. It's almost as if we have to take big concepts, put them into schemas that people understand in almost sort of visual metaphors, and then allow people to understand far quicker, because everyone is just so busy. No one's got time to read through reams of pages and want to look at it in a picture. Picture paints 1,000 words.
Yeah, you took the saying out of my mouth. But it's 100%. A picture paints 1,000 words, and it's around how do you take your information and display it in a way that just talks to you, that you can see exactly what it's saying straight away in a snapshot. And it's for you, it's for your customer, it's for your employees, it's anybody who's looking and needs to understand the data, rather than looking at reams and reams of numbers. Maybe how can we portray it in a different way?
Can you give us some examples of that?
So a very unique one is in Cape Town, when they had the situation, Cape Town was running out of water and all the hotels were putting up signs, please don't use water, etc., and almost like begging customers not to. I mean, I heard one of the hotels actually removed the plug from the bath, and that if you wanted a bath, you had to come down and get it yourself. So, and they were trying to convince people not to bath. One of the hotels did something unbelievable. What they did is they said, please don't waste water, and in the foyer, they put bottles of water, which would be the equivalent of a bath, and then they took next to it, the bottles of water, the equivalent of how much a 2-minute shower would take. And visually, you could see a massive difference between those two things. And as a request to somebody who's seeing that, it's like, wow, this is in your face. Maybe that's what I'm going to do. Look how much water I'm saving. So rather than giving facts and figures, they're changing it to something really, really visual.
And we can look at graphs as well. And in terms of taking a very dull graph, a bar graph, for example, and there we might represent water in droplets instead of a solid bar or bottles or something like that, which communicates what the bar graph is actually trying to display.
Absolutely. So you can use that, and there's a term for that. It's called a pictogram.
Right.
The only issue with a pictogram is sometimes you get the sizes wrong, and it distorts the information that you're going to give. But yes, that again would be great, to take something and put it into numbers. There's some research that was done in America with the shops, like the fruit shops, etc., where they asked them, how much data do you collect, or how many of you collect data on your customers? And about 75% of them collected data on exactly what the customers were doing in store and how they were shopping, etc. And then they said, how many of you analyzed that? And it went down from 75 to like 20% analyzed it. And then they said, how many of you now use that to make a business decision? And that was down to, I can't remember the exact number, but it was only about 10% of the total. And those that were the most effective with that is not that they only analyzed it, but then they created dashboards where they had pictures of exactly what was happening, and then people can make decisions based on what is happening. If you throw numbers at people, a lot of people, the shutters go down and they don't look at it. But when you take that same information and you put it in a picture that's easy to understand and you know what you're looking for, wow, it's almost like putting the shutters up and turning on the lights.
And you talk about dashboards. I've seen now, or particularly in financial documents where you're taking something which is quite dry, and the financial statements, and the front page has got a dashboard of how we're performing. So dashboard including a dial, where we are with red and green, or ragging it as they call it, red, amber, greening it. There's also the trend lines. So can we just talk about trending and how you can visualize trending? The examples?
Yeah, so that's a case where you'd go back into history, for instance, and you'd look at what has happened in the past compared to now. Because they say things are neither good or bad, it's comparison that makes it so. So if your company is earning R1 million, is that good or bad? Well, it's dependent on what did we do last year, what did we do the year before. If you only did 500,000 before, it's fantastic. If you did 10 million before, it's shocking. So what the trending is looking at, it's not just the number, but it's putting into context. And the context could be comparing yourself to yourself, or comparing yourself to other companies in the same segment, whatever you want to have a look at. And so you can have a look at the trend. And in terms of even people investing in the stock market, they look at the trend very much so to see how things are performing and in which direction it's going. And there's even a saying, they say, the trend is your friend in the way that it's going, and hopefully you can predict what's going to happen. My experience has shown that the trend is your friend until the bend at the end. And that bend is often quite steep.
Well, on that, I've got the cue from our producer saying that the end is near. And so with that, I'm going to have to say thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.